Welcome, everybody. This is the premiere edition of the Sacred Sex radio show and video show. My name is Micaiah, and I am the creator of Micaiah Sex Healing. You can find out more information about me at micaiahsexhealing.com. And today I have a glorious guest, one of my favorite teachers in the whole world, and a Tantric Master, Laurie Handlers. Laurie's a film producer, a sex educator, and the author of the book Sex and Happiness. Through her company, Butterfly Workshops, she offers sexual health and awareness courses, plus leadership and expansion courses for corporations and individuals throughout the world. She also hosts a weekly radio show called Sex and Happiness, where she discusses all topics about sex and intimacy. And Laurie's articles have appeared in evolvedworld.com, selfgrowth.com, and tatatsu.com. Welcome to the show, Laurie.
So glad to be here.
So today we're going to talk about a subject that so many people have been talking to me about lately, and that is maintaining your sexual health when you're not in a relationship. So let's talk about that, Laurie. What does practicing mean by yourself?
Practicing by yourself means to actually practice by yourself. It means that you don't need a partner. It means that you do the practices because you're committed to doing the practices, and you feel sacred sexuality, and you want to feel sacred sexuality in your body for when you do have a partner or whether you never have a partner. You just do the practices because you believe that they're going to heal your body, or they're going to be good for you, or they're going to let you be completely orgasmic or make love to life. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to do it. So it means doing it no matter what.
And what kind of practices are we talking about here?
They're exactly the practices that one would use with a partner. There are many practices. There are practices for moving energy. Mostly they're practices for moving energy, but let's go back to the definition of sacred sexuality, or like exactly what people are practicing when they practice Tantra or any other form of sacred sexuality. They're practicing breathing, movement, and sound. It's not rocket science. It's breathing, movement, and sound. And everyone can do this by themselves. And there are enormous amount of practices that will move energy. And the reason we use sound is to move energy. The reason we use movement is to move energy. And of course, we're going to be breathing anyway, but they're very specific breath practices. And even if I had a partner, when I was embarking upon studying sacred sexuality, I would still have to learn the practices within myself, within my own body, long before I put the practices together with a partner. So I don't get the big deal that people don't want to do it until they find the right partner. Like, really? Mostly they have to learn it in themselves first. And another thing is that what I find about Tantra anyway is that it's self-reference. Or self-referent. So I'm going to look inside myself to see what my sensations are and what I'm feeling, so that I can inform not only myself and what I'm feeling and thinking, but also someone else. So I have to get to know myself. I have to make love to myself before I could make love to someone else, even though before I thought that's what I was doing. The past. I thought I was making love to someone else, but actually I didn't know anything. Pre-Tantra. I didn't know a thing. But I kind of did. I always felt that sex was more than just frictional intercourse. I always felt there was more to sex, like it was much deeper. There was a possibility to go to levels that I only could imagine. I felt it in my body, but I definitely didn't. I didn't have a partner who wanted to explore that with me, whatever I could make up. And also, I didn't really know any breathing techniques. I just imagined, I had a feeling inside myself that there was much more to it. I just didn't know how to access
it. I can totally dig that. So what is the purpose of these energy moving exercises? What do people get from that?
Well, if we take the chakra system, for example, there's a yogic chakra system, and there are 7 chakras, main chakras. Other systems have 10, others, and then the chakras all over the body, but let's just call them the energy centers of the body. And if we start where we sit at the root and then move up, we have the root, the sex, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakras. Those are all major energy centers of the body. And when we're functioning properly, when we're really healthy, those centers are spinning. They're like wheels inside. Chakra means wheels, so they're wheels inside the body that are spinning. And what happens to us as we're growing is, and as after we're born, is that we get traumatized. Maybe we get traumatized by the act of birth itself. Maybe we get traumatized later on in years 1 to 5 or years 1 to 7. And where the trauma gets stored is in either 1, 2, or 3. In the root or the anus, in the penis or vagina, or in the solar plexus. That's kind of the darker side of things. And also that's the side of things that have our pleasure centers. Of course, our heart has our breasts and nipples, so the heart center has a pleasure area as well as the head and the ears. But basically, the places, the 1, 2, and 3 that I'm discussing, those are like deep pleasure centers, and they're also centers where we excrete wastes, etc. Unfortunately, the toxins that come from trauma get stored in 1, 2, and 3. And in order to have supreme pleasure, transformational pleasure, pleasure beyond belief, ecstasy, bliss, we have to clear those chakras, so they're in the cellular memories that may have happened in trauma. So this is why we do breathing, sound, and movement, so that we can get those chakras spinning, clear everything. Once you get the sex involved, then it burns through, it kind of fires through everything in the body and gets everything spinning quickly. It's a very fast way to clear, building a sexual charge and then clearing things. So it's important so that we can have as much pleasure as possible.
And when you're talking about getting the sex involved to clear things really quickly, are you talking about with another person or by yourself or both?
Well, I like to recommend to people to start by clearing by themselves, by getting sexual energy moving by themselves. And they could do clearing practices also in groups, but not necessarily engaging in sexuality until they start to get clear. For example, if I have a lot of slush fund, let's say, from things that happened to me in the past, and you're my partner, when we open up sex, those things are spinning around in there as well as sexual pleasure feelings. So all these issues and things that could have happened from my interactions with my parents or from a violation or a trespass that happened to me early in life, they're also stored in the sex chakra and in the first chakra in my anus and around my anal sphincter muscles. So when you were my partner, would go to open up a beautiful sexual encounter with me, it's 50-50 whether only love and passion is going to come back to you or it's going to come back to you. Because I don't always know. If I'm not conscious of it, then I won't always know what it's activating. There are hot spots inside the body that can be worked out and worked through. But if I'm not conscious of that, then I don't understand why when you're going to have sexual pleasure with me and you're putting your fingers in me or your tongue in me or your penis in me, all of a sudden, like, I'm activated and I want to, like, bite your head off. And I don't know. I don't know why that's happening, but that's happening because anything that may have trespassed me in the past is stored there. Does that communicate?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So what are some ways that we can start to become aware of these traumas that are stored in the body and then start to release them?
Well, how can we become aware? All right, so if I'm a person who gets angry at the drop of a hat, if I'm a person who gets sad at the drop of a hat, if I'm a person who holds on to relationships much longer than I should, like I know it's over, but I'm clinging and needing and holding on, If I'm somebody who can't feel anything, I'm numb. If I'm somebody who acts out sexually, like I have to have a gazillion sex partners, but I can't really feel any of it, I just know that I need it, I need it, I need it. Those are some reasons to consider that there might be some trauma in the body. If I'm someone who doesn't want sex, if I'm being celibate I mean, there's a lot of very dead, miserable people walking around in this world. When you agree?
Definitely.
And if they were to move some of this energy, they could get happy. I mean, really, it's so easy to get happy. All we really have to do is squeeze and breathe. So, I can't speak for every culture, but I can say definitely for Westerners, if they tell me if I meet them and they tell me they've got no trauma, they've got nothing to work out, I can't believe them. Now, I have met an occasional person, really, I have met an occasional person who really has no stress in their body and they're easy with everything. They don't show signs of jealousy. They don't have a lot of attachment. They just seem kind of jolly. I've met maybe 2 people like that in my life. Not too many. And I wasn't one of them, but I have met a few. I'm not talking about people who are Zen Buddhists, who meditate 24/7. I'm not talking about people like that who seem to be joyous no matter what, enlightened masters. I'm talking about regular people. I haven't met too many who are just okay. Mostly people are neurotic. They're taking something. Since 9/11, I think more than half the population of the United States is taking Prozac or some form of mood-enhancing chemical because they're scared to death. And when people are scared to death and traumatized, 9/11 traumatized everyone. And when people are scared to death, they're holding that in their first chakra. They're holding that in their anus, their anal sphincter. And the anal sphincter is really important for firing off both orgasm in the male and orgasm in the female. And if we're walking around that tight, there's a whole bunch of pleasure that can't be experienced. And I just use 9/11 as an example. But there's so many things that happened before that.
Yeah. So what does it look like on the opposite side of that when we're not functioning from that fear of survival?
When we're not functioning from fear of survival, we're free. We're freer. We're free to seek pleasure. We're freer to explore what it's like to share emotions in the present. Like if something happens to me today and I'm not comfortable with it, I can just say, I'm not comfortable right now. Rather than, from my past, like, you just trespassed me and I'm going to, I have to attack. There is no bear. There's no bear that's going to eat me that I know of in my situation. I don't camp in Alaska. I don't camp in the Rocky Mountains. So I don't think a bear is coming for me. And there is no bear. Nobody can do anything to me that would elicit that response anymore because I'm not operating in survival. Also, if I'm not operating in survival, I'm much more comfortable about spending money. Like my money is in a free flow. I'm much more comfortable about sharing my body with a beloved or juicing my body up every day, no matter whether I have someone in my life or I don't. Like I believe that people should have orgasms as often as they brush their teeth. So, just saying, I brush my teeth in the morning and I brush my teeth at night, and sometimes I brush my teeth in the middle of the day. That's how many times I want my teeth to be clean. I want to be shooting all those. I want to be building oxytocin and stimulating my brain with endorphins. I want to do that as much as I want to go work out at the gym. I want an orgasm as many times a day as I brush my teeth. And I have a right to that. I have a right to that. That's my birthright, to have pleasure and to have my body feel its sensual, wonderful, marvelous self. It's such a miracle to have a body.
And beyond the orgasm, I love that. At least as many times as you brush your teeth. I'm going to have to start brushing more. How does these solo breath and sound work practices carry over into the other parts of your life that might not be focused on sex, like even just something as simple as walking down the street?
Well, I don't know if you share this belief, but I believe that sexual energy is the energy of creation. So anything I'm creating is using my sexual energy. If I have low sexual energy, it's hard for me to focus. It's hard for me to sit down and write an article. It's hard for me to write a book. It's hard for me to make a film. If I don't have my sexual energy flowing, I'm not as creative as I would be if my sexual energy were, flowing. Since I got into Tantra, I have done the things I dreamed about doing in my life. So I've written a book, I produced 2 CDs, I produced a DVD, and then I produced 2 films, and I do programs all over the world, and I meet people, and the funny thing, this is funny, before, I'm kind of short, I'm 5'2", and when I didn't have sacred sexuality in my life, I used to walk into a room and be really loud and have to call attention to myself. Of course, and that was all sexual energy too. I was kind of spewing my sexual energy out into the crowd in hopes that I'd be noticed, because being 5'2", I was afraid no one would notice me. I think that's the rationale I gave myself. Since I've practiced sacred sexuality for years, I walk into a room and I'm contained, and my sexual energy is more potent than it was before. So what happens is people are drawn to me, and invariably the ones I need to meet, to make a new film deal or to collaborate on a teaching with, I meet those people almost immediately because I'm contained and my energy is so potent that I draw to me what I set my intention for. So, and I'm much more orgasmic about things like sunsets and blooming hibiscus and my rose garden and dancing and all the things that I loved before. I can actually, they call it omnisexual, which is I can be orgasmic about anything: a sunset, ice cream, chocolate, meeting a new friend, whatever it is. And that's like sexual energy everywhere, but it isn't having sex. It's not engaging in sex act necessarily everywhere. It's just being really in tune with all there is. I'm much more open to new ideas. I'm much more open to other teachings. I'm much more open to and trusting, to trust myself to be wherever I need to be and to remove myself if I don't need to be there. It's an internal compass that gets developed by igniting the sexual energy and moving sexual energy in the body. I can even tell when I need to be diagnosed. Like I can tell when I need a doctor's appointment before the doctor's office calls me and says it's your checkup time, or the dentist calls me. Like I can tell what's going on in my body.
That's glorious. So let's talk about that. How does one become aware of their body? Now, for me, I started doing yoga about 10 years ago, and that brought a lot more awareness to my body because I was breathing and I was moving. I could feel where the spots of tension was. And since I've started studying Tantra, that's just shot through the roof. So what are some ways that we can become more aware of our bodies?
Well, I like to start people with something I call the snapshot. So I usually ask people, we can do it if you want to. We can do the snapshot right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, so usually what I do is, and I'll do it with you, is I ask people to sit straight and to close their eyes and to focus in on their breath. So just focus in on the breath entering you through the nose and exhaling you through the mouth. And just breathing, gently breathing, and like fill your stomach up a little bit, like that. When you fill your lungs more, the stomach pushes out. So breathe in enough so that your belly pushes out. And then as you exhale, just exhale a little bit more than usual. This is conscious breathing, different from just normal breathing, which is kind of shallow. So let your breathing get deep in the body. And as you're breathing, and as I'm talking to you, We're going to send your awareness, which means your attention. We're going to send your attention to various parts of the body. So we're going to send the attention to the chakras that I just mentioned. So we're going to go first to chakra 1. So you're going to send your attention to the area of the anus, anal sphincter muscles, tailbone, where you sit, basically your seat. And I want you to look and see if you have any restrictions there, constrictions, if you feel hot, cold, tight, loose, twirlies, tinglies, numb, whatever you feel there, and take a snapshot. Maybe you feel really tight. Most people are tight ass, so see if you feel tight. And just note it. And also, as I'm talking to you and you're breathing, notice if your mind is telling you something that you should or shouldn't be about where and what I'm saying. So if your mind is saying, oh no, my ass should be looser, I have to do something about it, just notice your mind chatter, because noticing mind chatter is important too. And then bring your awareness to your sex and notice if you feel tight, loose, hot, cold, tingly, swirly, pulsing, turn on, excitement, numb. Just choose from those categories, and maybe you feel something different than any of those, but whatever it is, take a snapshot. And then bring your awareness to your belly solar plexus and notice if you feel hot, cold, tight, loose, restricted, constricted, numb, blocked, open, any kind of thing that you feel, and take a snapshot and keep noticing what your mind is saying as I ask you these things. Now bring awareness to your heart. And the heart usually feels one of two ways. It could be different, but usually I find that people either feel weighted down and heavy in the heart, like they have a heavy heart, or they feel like the heart is so expanded they have wings, the heart could fly away. The heart and lungs, they're so light, they're like a big balloon. So notice what yours is feeling like, and then take a snapshot. And then bring your awareness to the throat, and I'd like to have everybody swallow. So as you swallow, notice if it was easy to swallow or difficult to swallow, or if you're feeling restricted or constricted in the throat. Swallow again if you're not sure. Are you dry or lubricated? And just take a snapshot of what's happening in your throat. And now your third eye, which is your eyebrow center, is right between your eyebrows and a teeny bit up. And inside, with your eyes closed, notice if you see color, if you see swirling color, if you see changing color, if you see only dark. And take a snapshot. And then bring your awareness to up and around your head, the crown chakra. Bring your awareness up and around and notice if you feel like you have a lid over you, or you have a cloud around you, or if you feel completely open, like able to access all there is, all the information and any download there is from the universe. Just notice what you feel there and take a snapshot. And then when you're ready, and you've had the snapshot and you know how much mind chatter has also gone on about each one of these positions in your body that I've asked you to look at, and you know the amount of mind chatter it was talking the whole time, saying, oh no, this doesn't feel right, this is wrong, I have to work on this, whatever the mind was telling you, note that too, and then slowly open your eyes. Great, so what did you notice?
Well, the most intense part that I noticed was around my heart chakra. It was just very tight. The parts that were open and flowing felt like they had wings, like you were talking about, but a good portion of it felt tight and constricted. And so as we got higher, especially when we got to the crown, I noticed all this energy coming in. It starts to constrict a little bit at my throat, and then would get very constricted at the heart center.
Okay, so this is beautiful. And first of all, I'm not going to say it's typical or untypical, it's what you have. And it's what anybody could have on any given day. It doesn't mean that your heart will be restricted all the time, so I want everyone to know that. And it doesn't mean that it can't move in 1 minute, because we can move that energy and unrestrict your heart just like that. So The point here, though, is that whatever information you're accessing from your lower chakras, or if you're going to have sex, let's say, right now with someone, and you can't, and there's a blockage in your heart, it means that your sex energy won't make it up there. Like there'll be some blockage. It'll remain pretty much a genital experience where you won't be able to open your heart even if you want to someone. And if you're getting downloads and information from the rest of the universe, from information and things that need to come to you, it won't make it all the way through you. You won't be able to embody it if it gets stuck right at the heart. Like it starts getting constricted in the throat and then it blocks at the heart. Like it won't, it's like this. You won't be able to access all of your potential with a blockage anywhere. And when it's in the heart, it keeps you from, the heart issues have to do with compassion and generosity and giving, self-love and giving other love. It's not so much romance. Romance is like a second chakra issue. This is big love. This is the kind of love that floats us, really, that the kind that people long for, the kind that's in a Rumi poem or a Heifetz poem, you know what I'm talking about. That kind of longing and that kind of beauty, that feeling of, melting, that is unable to happen when the heart is blocked. So we can move it.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. How can we move that energy?
We can definitely move it. We can move it pretty quickly.
Okay.
So let me just, before we do that, let me just say what the issues are in each one, in each chakra, so that people get a sense of if someplace, when they did their check just now and they did their snapshots, if something was more blocked than others or more restricted than others, let me just tell them what the issues are that need to be freed up. So the first chakra has to do, we mentioned it before, with safety and security. It has a lot to do with the decade we were born into, the family we were born into, our ethnicity, our religion, the part of the world we were born in. So what happens in the first chakra, in the root, is very, very dependent on all these circumstances of timing and location and beliefs. And they all hold us tight or allow us to be loose, depending upon the answer to all those questions. What year we born? Like, for example, the year I was born in, the war was over, and people were celebrating that they weren't in a big war, but also the parents of the people who had been in war had also been through the stock market crash. They'd been through a Great Depression. And those were still conversations that were in the environment when I was born. And they still influence and inform those things that people said to me as a little baby, as a little girl. Also, sex was not anything anybody talked about until Elvis. When Elvis showed up on the Ed Sullivan Show, then people all of a sudden were speaking about somebody wiggling their hips. There was no MTV as we know it. So the first chakra has to do with safety and security and conversations that were in the environment at the time we came in. The second chakra has to do with pleasure and pain and the memories of pleasure and pain, cellular memories of pleasure and pain. Even if our mom said, you can't have that toy, that was a pain. If we got an A on the report card, that was maybe a pleasure. If we made the football team or the cheerleading squad, that was a pleasure. But if we didn't make honor roll, that was a pain. If someone didn't say yes to us when the first time we asked them to dance, that was a pain. So the memories of those pains make a take in the sex. And lots of other things. We were poor. We only ate butter sandwiches. That makes a take in the sex. Other people ate roast beef. They had candy. They had chocolate. Maybe that didn't happen in the generations now. I don't know. I'm sure there's still some very, very poor people. I think things get stretched. The divide is greater. I know that for my grandmother and my mother, my grandmother used to eat tea with a cube of sugar under her tongue because that indicated to her that she was rich.
All right.
Okay, so these are just examples of things that could make a take in your sex. Then the third chakra has to do with power and feelings of power or powerlessness or abuse of power. So and lots of feelings because the placenta was here. So the fact that the placenta brought in all these feelings from generations before, things that come in with the DNA. So lots of things are stirring in the third chakra, in the belly center, that have to do with feelings, or holding back feelings, or powerlessness, or feeling powerful. The heart chakra has to do, as I said, with compassion or generosity, like really big love. Can I really love myself? Can I love everything else? Can I really grant acceptance to everything else in the world? Can I understand it? Will I extend understanding to it and some compassion, no matter what it is? Or will I not? A lot of people's hearts are down, by the way, are weighted down because of romantic love, and because someone broke their heart, or they let themselves break it. They let someone break their heart. And this isn't necessary. We can remain with an open heart no matter what's going on in our life if you choose to. It's a choice. This has to do with speaking your truth. Am I going to tell you what I feel? Am I going to take the risk to say I love you when you haven't said it to me back? Am I going to take the risk to tell you some behavior you have really pisses me off, and I need you to stop it right now? And would you stop it right now? Would you honor me that much? Am I going to tell you how much I care about you and that I want to be there for you? All kinds of things. Am I going to tell you what I'm creating? I'm creating a new book. Or am I going to withhold? Am I going to keep it to myself? Am I going to tell you my ideas, my creations? Am I going to tell you what I heard? So that's what this is about, this chakra. And this is about seeing. Can I see what's really happening, or do I only see what I want to see? Can I see beyond all that and see something that's about to happen? Or can I see, have I increased my psychic or my intuitive abilities? That's all resides in here. And by the way, when we get into sacred sexuality, this increases enormously. Mm-hmm. Like, I can actually complete people's sentences now. I don't tell them that I'm doing it, but I usually know exactly what someone's going to say before they even open their mouth to say it. All kinds of things have increased about psychic ability for me, and I wasn't one of those people. I don't go to consult psychics. I'm not somebody who goes to tea leaf readers or palm readers. I don't even do astrology much. I don't do any of that stuff, and yet I can now see things that I wasn't able to see. I can almost have a premonition about things. I get these, and I go, oh. And then I ask somebody the question, wait a minute, were was this? Okay, and then this chakra has to do with connection to all there is. Like everything there has ever been, everything there is now, and everything there will ever be, because it's not on it. This is not, the connection to this has nothing to do with the timeline. It has to do with everything. Just everything there is. So that's the issues. Now, how do we open that up? How do we open the flow of all that energy going up and down, up? Well, let's start with the heart. Okay? So we're going to open up the belly and then the heart with a practice called bated breath. And then we'll connect the sex to the heart, and we'll see how you feel. We'll see whether your heart chakra starts spinning, okay?
Glorious.
Okay. So the first practice is called bated breath, and it's accomplished like this. I inhale through the nose, and then I say the sound. Don't do it yet. Until I have no air. Now I obviously have some air because I'm talking. When I have no air left, I push my belly out, in, out, in, out, in. I don't know if you can see my belly, so let me change this so you can. I move my belly until I have to breathe again. When I have to breathe again, I breathe into the nose. Until I have no air left. When I have no air left, I push. And we do that, we do so 4 times, and then we change to sa. So O is the sound of the belly chakra, and solar plexus, and Ah is the sound of the heart. So we'll do so, then we'll do sa, and we'll see if we can open this up a little bit, and then we'll use some sex energy to open this up some more. Okay, ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we'll do a total of 7 times. I'll count. You don't have to worry about counting. I'm going to count the 4 so's and then the 3 sa's, and then I'll say stop. Okay?
Okay.
Inhale through the nose. Exhale with saw. Saw, 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 saw. Inhale. So, 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 push. So 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 so. Change the saw. Last one. Resume normal breath. Release the technique. Keep your eyes closed. Just notice any feelings, any changes in state from the original snapshot. And coughing is good. It means that you're releasing toxins from your body by pushing and by making sound. So coughing is good. Just notice, go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Just notice anything different happening in your body from the original snapshot. Especially looking at belly, heart, throat, and third eye. And when you're ready to open your eyes, slowly do so. Okay, so do you notice any difference in state, any change in state at all?
Yeah, my heart area is about 80% more clear than it was before we started that.
Excellent.
Right.
And
during the 6th repetition when we're doing the saws, I just felt this huge energy release just go up and out of my crown from my heart.
Excellent. So it's just as easy as that. The secret to happiness is just moving some energy and making some sound. And most people don't know. We were never taught that. We were taught to sing. Singing is very joyous. It's a very joyous activity. Most people think they can't sing, so they don't sing. And they don't know about pushing their belly in and out. They don't know how to speed up the process. But that's what we did. We just like cleared your belly and heart from any connection it had to weight. Now we can do one more.
Let's do it.
That actually connects sex to heart. And then we can see how you feel. We can see if we got the job done.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay. And I just want to stress again that you can't get this wrong. You really can't get this wrong. You're just making so sound and pushing your belly. If you don't push your belly as fast as I push my belly, it's no big deal because I've been doing this for a while. I teach this, so I teach people to do this on a pretty much a daily basis. I teach people on Skype. I teach people in classes. So this is, this is acquired, some of this is acquired skill, and it takes you to remember, oh, I can do so and so. I can just open some things up here. I'm kind of feeling bad in the stomach. I feel like a brick just hit me. I can open this up if I want to. It's a question of remembering, do I want to be happy or do I want to like hold on to, okay. Listen, there's so many people that I've taught this to, and there's lots of people who've shifted and transformed, and then there's a whole bunch of people who haven't. You can't make them do it. It's not rocket science, and some of them, their mind wants them to think, that's all there is. This can't be it. It has to be more complex than this. Well, my friends, it's not more complex than this. Micaiah, it's not more complex than this. It's easy stuff. Just have to remember to do it and then do it. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we're going to do something else. We're going to connect sex and heart. This may make you a little bit excited. And if it does, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You didn't get it wrong if it doesn't. It may make you a little excited. I've been doing it for years and years and years, and I find that every time I do it now, it makes me more excited than yesterday or the day before or the day before. Like I get a real buzz tingle going on in my genitals.
That sounds fun.
What?
That sounds fun.
Yes, it does. It's needed and necessary.
All right.
Even for people who haven't had a partner in a really long time, it makes no difference. Okay, so we're going to squeeze the anal sphincter muscles and the PC muscles at the same time. And when we do that, it looks like this. So I'm not doing this with my shoulders. I'm squeezing, and I'm going up, kind of like I'm riding a horse. Okay, so we're going to squeeze those muscles. This is the first part of it. We're going to do what's called charging breath. We're going to build a sexual charge in our own body, not having sex, just building a charge. Then we're going to transmute the energy, which means we're going to pull the energy out of the genitals and all the way up the spine. And then we're going to sniff the energy up past the third eye and to the crown after we build the charge, so that the whole body should feel energized by sexual energy. But the sounds we're going to make are going to connect the sex to the heart. Okay, so I'll guide you through this. I'm not going to tell you everything before we do it. We'll do it together. So here we go. We'll start with eyes open, just so you can see that we're going like this, and then we'll close our eyes and we'll really get into it.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
Ready? So the first part is squeezing. So begin to squeeze at a slow pace. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Squeeze. You're doing it great. I can see you going up, and that's great. Squeeze. Squeeze. Now we're going to change. We're going to make the exhale like this.
Before you go on, Laurie, just in case people haven't experienced working with their PC muscle before, how would one go about finding where that is in their body and then actually engaging it?
That's great. Okay, so the anal sphincters are inside the anus. And there's two sets of them, and they're like inside. You can squeeze them solo. You can just squeeze them right now, if you can, or you can squeeze them by squeezing your buttocks together. Just the anal sphincters. Sometimes people can't separate these groups of muscles, but you could try to squeeze your butt. Okay, and then the PC muscles, the pubococcygeals, they're inside the vagina for women, and they're at the base of the penis for men, and they're the muscles you would use like if you were urinating and then you wanted to stop in the middle of the flow, or someone came in and you were surprised, you would go, and you would squeeze those muscles together, and that would stop the flow of urine. So some people teach themselves some other skills by stopping the flow of urine. This becomes important later. But for right now, we're just going to do these two together. Okay, so it's called Kegels. People know about Kegels. A lot of people know about Kegels, that you do this. It's an exercise to strengthen the pelvic floor. So it doesn't have to be sexual, but the more you do it, the better it is for your sex. Let's just put it like that. For your sex life. Okay, was that good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I got through real well.
Okay, good. So we're going to squeeze and we're going to exhale on the squeeze. So it's going to be like this. Now we're going to change the sound to ooh.
Now, are we releasing between each breath?
When we exhale, we're squeezing, and when we inhale, we're releasing. I don't want to give people that too much because their head's going to get engaged. Like, I really want them to just do it, and then we can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay? So everybody, squeeze and make the sound. Squeeze and make the sound. Squeeze and release. Release. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. Good. Now we're changing to ooh. 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 What's the sound of sex? Ooh. 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 If you want, you can put your left hand there. Ooh, on your sex. Ooh. 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 And put your right hand on your heart. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, as if you're pledging allegiance to self. Ooh. Ooh. Now change to ah. 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 See if you can feel that. Ah. Keep squeezing. Ah. 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 Now we're going to alternate. Ooh. Ah. Ooh. Ah. Ooh. Ah. Now get faster. Ooh. Ah. 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 You let go. Ooh. Ah. 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 Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Ooh. Ah. 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 Now stop. Squeeze every muscle in the body. The sphincter muscles, your face, your fist, everything. Hold it. Take an inhale through the nose. Pull the sex energy up your spine. Hold it. Take a sniff. And release big through the mouth. Let the energy back down. Ah. And take another big inhale through the nose. Pull the energy up your spine. That sex energy, that juice. Hold it. Tighten every muscle in the body as tight as you can. Your face, your fist, your shoulders, everything. Hold it. Now you're going to sniff up past the third eye. And hold it. And release back down and all the energy back to the bottom. Ah. And it's important to make sound here. Really important to make sound. And then one more big inhale through the nose, up the spine. Tightening every muscle as you go. Tight, tight, tight. Hold it. When you take the sniff, you're going to sniff past the crown. Sniff. Hold it. And now big surrender through the mouth. Ah. Now close your eyes. And notice how you feel. Especially notice how you, Makaya, notice how you feel in the heart and the upper belly and the throat. Everybody else, and Makaya too, go down to the root. Notice if anything has shifted. If you feel a broader base to sit on, something is opened up where it was restricted before. Notice in your sex if something's pulsing or even painful where maybe you felt numb before. Go to the belly, solar plexus. Notice if there's air flowing through you or if you still feel restricted or constricted in any way. Notice your heart. Does your heart feel lighter, like it has wings? Does it feel heavy down? Heavy on down? Notice your throat. Everybody swallow. Do you feel less constriction in the throat, more lubrication? Notice what's happening in your third eye. What are the colors like now? What are you seeing? What will you be able to see? And then go to the crown, the area above and around your head. Do you feel connected to all there is, or do you feel like there's still a lid on you? And also look at your extremities. Notice if your fingers are tingling, or your toes are tingling, or any other part of you, any other part. And when you're ready to, slowly, slowly open your eyes. So how do you feel in your heart?
Way more open, and beyond that, I just feel very super present in all of my body. Like my entire body is vibrating and like radiating energy, and it feels really great.
That's excellent. Well, that's what sacred sexuality is all about. And this just goes to show that you had me as a partner, but I'm however many miles Tucson is from Phoenix, that many miles away from you. I'm not touching you, your body in any way. I'm just here on Skype with you. It doesn't require my touch. It requires me sharing energy with you and showing you how you can do this on your own.
Glorious, yeah. It's so wonderful, and now let's say somebody was doing this to charge up for an experience with a partner. How would that affect what would happen between the two of them?
Well, first of all, if I went into a sexual encounter being this juiced up and having my energy transmuted, like having my sexual energy pulled out of the genitals and pulled throughout my whole body, so my hands are tingling and all my chakras are open and I'm wide open up here, I would have a different experience than a just like, you know, like, like a sex, last step, do your heart. I would have my energy would be flowing over my whole body, so my partner would feel more connected to me in every chakra because my chakras would all be spinning before the encounter. So that's already like a reception, a receptivity to way more that my partner would have to give to me and way more that I could receive, and also way more that I would have to give than just, you know. Many people have told me over the course of the years that I've taught that they tolerate sex. They fake orgasms. Men have told me they do that too, not just women. That they can't wait to get it over. They're too busy. They have too much going on in their schedule. It's too intense. They don't want to open themselves up that much to this person. A lot of things. This exercise opens us up to be ready. Now, it can just open me up to have my energy today, or I could do it like I know I'm going to have a meeting with someone, so I can just do this. I can do this like 10 minutes prior, or I can do this with the person. I can sit face to face with a person and do it, or I can sit back to back with a person and do it. I can do this when I'm in the car and I'm falling asleep at the wheel. I can do this when I'm in a traffic jam and I need to wake myself up and get happy rather than like, oh, the damn traffic. First of all, I don't think there is any traffic in Phoenix. I come from New York, so there's plenty of traffic. I've lived in New York, Boston, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, places where there really is traffic. In Phoenix, there's no occasion to get that upset about traffic as far as I'm concerned. But if let's say I was late, I was in a hurry, and I was just at a light, I could just do to juice myself up and get over it. Get over myself. This is the secret to happiness. My own energy flowing.
And you know, I learned this technique from you a while back, Laurie, and when I do that in the car, especially I travel from Tucson up to Phoenix for many sacred sexuality events because there's a lot more going on up there, and I do that on the way up there just to enhance my energy. But regardless of if I'm going to an event or not, after I do that exercise, like I just feel blissful, happy, like I just want to smile all the time and connect with everybody and really be okay with how people are going to receive me, no matter if they love me or they hate me and tell me I'm stupid. It doesn't matter. I'm still smiling through it all.
You don't have to be affected by what's up with them.
Yeah.
You don't have to be at the effect of anybody else's down, anybody else's sarcasm, anybody else's attitude, anybody else's negativity or closeness, because you know how to make yourself happy. And believe me, just doing this, we took less than 5 minutes. This is much better than a pill. This is one of my favorite things to say. This is a Laurieism. You're gonna breathe anyway, so you might as well breathe and squeeze.
Yeah.
Make yourself happy. It's on you. It's your responsibility.
I love
And
it.
we did this without a partner. We did this ourselves. And we could do it with a partner, or without. We could still get happy. This is the secret to happiness. It's not in the third eye. It's down at the bottom where we sit. Squeeze it. Squeeze that energy and move it with sound.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention. I do this a lot on the way to the grocery store, and it's like I'm not doing it because I'm going to meet a woman to make love to. I'm doing it just to charge my energy up and have that energy flowing through me in every area of my life.
Yes. And this, as I said before, all of this affects everything. It affects attitude. It affects receptivity. It affects focus. It affects happiness. It affects attractiveness. If I want to attract to me my special partner or partners, then I use this energy to move energy in my body so that I'm receptive and open to what I said I want. If I'm walking around growling or a grouch, chances are that somebody who could really love me and who I could really love would be walking right by me at the grocery store and I would never notice. So I'm too self-absorbed in my negativity.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very grounding. For those of you who've been told that you're space cadets, this is very, very grounding, and this is very opening if you have an intention that you set an intention that you want, especially if you want to meet a partner. This is very grounding. This is why we practice it alone. This is called solo practice, and there's a whole lot more solo practices. We don't really have time for them all today, but there are many, many solo practices in there, really effective. They're about the most effective thing you could do with your time, your little 5 minutes. You know, some people think you have to sit and meditate for 20 minutes quietly, and I can't do that personally. Never been able to do that. I was initiated into meditation where I had to sit quietly for 20 minutes to half an hour, but I was never able to do that. My mind wouldn't get quiet. But when I do this, it's like going on throughout me, like just throughout me. I have the ability to quiet myself down and quiet down any anxiety and quiet down any unruliness that I have going on in my person. And I can focus. That's why I get my projects done.
Eliminate the mind chatter, be happy, feel blissful, vibrate all the time. It sounds like just a magical thing, and it only takes 5 minutes a day.
Exactly. Bliss is right there. Bliss is right at your fingertips and right inside you if you want bliss. If you don't want bliss, you might as well get straight with yourself that you want drama and that you love the drama and that it brings you pleasure. See, when one becomes tantric, I say that then we have to own the pleasure in everything. So if I'm suffering, I must get pleasure from it. If I'm blissful and ecstatic, I'm getting pleasure from it. I'm getting pleasure from whatever I create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So if people wanted to learn more techniques like this, where can they learn that stuff?
Well, I do, as I mentioned before, I do Skype sessions. If people are far away from me, I do Skype sessions regularly. I have lots of Skype clients from all over the world. Also, you can invite me to where you are. I mostly work on the East Coast, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., sometimes Florida, sometimes Boston. And I teach a lot in Phoenix, but I'm willing to travel to anywhere. If you want to get a group of 14 to 20 people together, I'm happy to come. You can go to my website, butterflyworkshops.com. That's Butterfly Workshops with an S, just like my last name is Handlers. I have that S on the end of everything. You can go there and you can find a lot of things. You can find my schedule. Also, there's lots of articles for free. And I have a radio show called Sex and Happiness. And you can Google Sex and Happiness and you'll get my radio show. And I have, at this point, I must have 600 shows posted in one form or another that I've interviewed almost everybody in the sex and happiness world. So you can learn so much from that. And also, can I show my products?
Please do.
Okay, I'm just showing 3 of them. I have my book, Sex and Happiness, The Tantric Laws of Intimacy. And this book is not so much, it's not telling you sex positions or postures or like other Tantra books do. This book is what I discovered by teaching Tantra that I could share. What I discovered about myself, and it's very, very telling. There's a chapter on anger. There's a chapter on people being on mirror. There's a chapter on setting boundaries, because that was a really hard one for me. So there's a lot of really practical knowledge in this. And I have a YouTube about the book as well, where I discuss some of the chapters. And if you want to go to YouTube and just type in Laurie Handlers, I have a lot of resources. Also, I have this CD, which is called Shamanic Release and Ladi Han. And this CD enables you to do emotional release practices by yourself. You hear me taking you through the guided practice of emotional release, and then going into a practice called Ladi Han, which is following inner guidance. Once you get clear, then you're able to follow your inner guidance and start to develop your inner compass so that you trust yourself no matter what. So that's this, and I have it in 2 versions. So I have it where you can follow along with me speaking to you to music, and then I made another recording, so when you get tired of hearing me, after a while of practicing, you can just do it yourself with just music. And then I have my Bliss DVD, and this is a DVD which is a recording of my Bliss class, which is a 1-day beginner's Tantra class. So if you're never somewhere where I am, if you're not in New York City, or you don't want me to come to Chicago, because that's where you live, or Austin, Texas, or wherever, then you could get this DVD and you can follow along and you can be in the Bliss course in front of your computer or your DVD player and television. So I have that as well. Those are just 3 of them. I have others, but those are the 3 most popular ones. So that's how people can do it. They can do it on their own with me and Skype, on their own with a product, or I'm going to just say something here. I'm just going to jump out and say, I strongly encourage you to work with a teacher. I strongly encourage you to not believe that you can read a book about Tantra and get it. And I'm going to give you a different analogy so that you know what I'm talking about. If you read a book about balance, you would not be able to ride a bike. You couldn't ride a bike unless somebody was running along with you and holding you up, and the many, many times you fall and help pick you up and get you back on that bike until you actually got balance, and it requires being with another person. You just can't intellectually get Tantra. It's not a mind thing. It's not a mind distinction. It's a mind-body distinction, and you need both. So it's really important that you find a teacher to guide you in Tantra, because a teacher knows how your body should be responding and the kinds of ways to answer the mind questions when they come up. The mind will eventually stop chattering, and a Tantra teacher knows this. So I just have to say that it's really important, as far as I'm concerned, to study with a teacher, and to not just get one technique and think you know it. because one technique opens you up, leading to another place and another place and another place, and the body's like a labyrinth. You want to actually go down in there and find all those places and release any suffering and any pain and any block in your body so you actually can have pleasure. Tantra is transformation through pleasure. You want to have as much pleasure as you can as your birthright.
That's glorious, Laurie. And I have taken tantra classes with you, and they have just been life transforming, really helping me to be way more in my body, really more expressive in my sexuality, and just feeling a lot more blissful in my everyday life. So I can't recommend classes with Laurie highly enough. Please check her out. Her website is butterflyworkshops.com. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us today, Laurie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing from any of you. You can write to me at Laurie@butterflyworkshops.com, Laurie @butterflyworkshops.com. And again, you can just put my name in, Laurie Handlers, and you'll find a whole lot of material. I have tried to give away as much of this as I possibly could. So it's wonderful when people get it and then they prepare themselves and then they go find a teacher that they can work with. Thank you, Micaiah. Thank you for having me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being in my class, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will see you next week on Sacred Sexuality Radio. Bye now.